The train whistle faded into the evening sky just as Eliza Hart stepped down from the depot platform with one small suitcase and a heart that felt too broken to carry. Only an hour earlier, she had arrived in the dusty town of Silver Creek believing she was about to begin a new life. Her fiancé, Daniel, had promised to meet her at the station. He had written that he had found work, rented a small room, and was ready for them to marry. But instead of Daniel, she found a folded note waiting with the station clerk. The words were short and cruel. He had changed his mind, he had left town, and he did not want her to follow. Eliza read the note 3 times before she could breathe again. Now the depot was nearly empty. The sun sank behind the distant mountains, turning the street gold and red. Wagons rolled past the general store. Men laughed outside the saloon. Somewhere, a piano played a cheerful tune that made Eliza feel even more alone. She wore a pale blue blouse and dark skirt, clothes chosen for a hopeful arrival. But now they felt like a costume for a life that no longer existed. She gripped her suitcase and walked away from the depot, trying not to let anyone see her cry. She had no family in Silver Creek, no money for a hotel beyond one night, no idea where to go when morning came. She had spent the journey imagining Daniel's smile, their wedding, a warm home, and children running through a small garden. In one letter, he had written that she was the only person who understood him. Now she wondered if she had ever known him at all. "Miss." A deep voice stopped her near the edge of the boardwalk. Eliza quickly wiped her cheeks and turned. A cowboy stood beside a hitching post, tall and broad, shouldered beneath a brown hat. He wore a worn leather vest over a plain shirt, dust on his boots, and an expression that was serious but gentle. He looked like a man who had worked hard all day and expected nothing from anyone. "Are you all right?" he asked. Eliza forced herself to straighten. "I'm fine." The cowboy looked at the suitcase in her hand, then at the darkening street. "You don't look fine." Eliza's pride rose quickly. "I said I'm fine." He nodded, not offended. "All right." He stepped back, but before he turned away, he added, "My name is Noah Reed. I own the ranch north of town." Eliza said nothing. Noah glanced toward the depot. "The station clerk told me someone was left waiting." Her face burned with embarrassment. "Then everyone knows." "Only enough to know you shouldn't be alone tonight." Eliza looked away. She hated the kindness in his voice because it made her want to trust him. "I don't need rescuing," she said. Noah's expression softened. "I'm not offering to rescue you. I'm offering you a meal and a safe room. You can leave at sunrise if you want." The wind moved through the street, carrying dust around their boots. Eliza looked at the crowded saloon, the strangers passing by, and the dark road beyond town. She had always been taught to be careful. A woman alone could not afford to trust easily. Yet something about Noah's quiet patience felt different. He was not trying to charm her. He was not asking questions. He was simply standing there, leaving the choice in her hands. "Why would you help me?" she asked. Noah looked toward the mountains. "Because I know what it's like to have nowhere you want to go." Those words made Eliza pause. She did not know his story, but she heard pain beneath the calm. Finally she nodded. "Just for one night." Noah took her suitcase, but only after she allowed him to. He led her down the street to a small house behind the general store, where an older woman named Mrs. Bell rented rooms to travelers. Noah paid for a week before Eliza could protest. "You don't owe me," he said. "You can work it off if that makes you more comfortable." Mrs. Bell could use help in the kitchen. Eliza looked at him, surprised. "You thought of that already?" Noah gave a faint smile. "You looked like someone who would rather work than accept charity." That night, Eliza sat alone in the small room, staring at Daniel's note. She wanted to tear it apart, but instead she folded it carefully and placed it at the bottom of her suitcase. Then she looked out the window and saw Noah riding away toward the north road, his brown hat low against the sunset. She did not know why, but for the first time since leaving the depot, she felt something other than heartbreak. It was small, fragile, but it was hope. If you want to see whether a stranger's kindness can heal a broken heart, please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more emotional Wild West stories of love, courage, and second chances. Eliza stayed in Silver Creek longer than one night. At first, she told herself it was only because Mrs. Bell needed help, and because she needed time to decide where to go next. She washed dishes, swept floors, served coffee, and learned the names of regular customers. But each morning, she found herself looking toward the North Road, wondering whether Noah Reed would ride into town. He came twice a week for supplies. He never stayed long. He bought flour, nails, coffee, and feed, then stopped at Mrs. Bell's kitchen door to ask if Eliza was managing. He never mentioned Daniel. He never asked why she had trusted the wrong man. He simply listened when she wanted to speak and gave her silence when she did not. One afternoon, a heavy rainstorm flooded part of the town road. Noah arrived soaked through, leading his horse by the reins. Mrs. Bell asked him to stay for supper, and Eliza found herself setting a plate for him without being asked. During the meal, Noah told them his ranch needed help before winter. A section of fence had fallen, the barn roof needed repair, and his housekeeper had gone to live with her daughter. Mrs. Bell looked at Eliza with knowing eyes. Perhaps Eliza could help for a few days, she said. Eliza nearly refused. But Noah looked at her carefully. Only if you want to, he said. You'd have your own room. You'd be paid fairly. Eliza agreed, though she told herself it was only work. Noah's ranch was smaller than she expected, tucked beneath low hills with a wide porch, a red barn, and fields stretching toward the mountains. It was lonely but beautiful. The first morning, Eliza found Noah repairing a broken gate. He looked up when she approached, and she saw surprise in his face when she handed him a hammer. "You know how to use one?" he asked. Eliza lifted an eyebrow. "My father raised 3 daughters on a farm. We knew how to work." Noah smiled, and the sight changed his whole face. Over the next days they worked side by side. Eliza cooked simple meals, mended curtains, and helped organize the house. Noah repaired the barn and chopped wood. At night, they ate on the porch while the sky filled with stars. Slowly, Eliza began to tell him about her old life. She admitted she had ignored signs that Daniel was pulling away because she was afraid of being alone. Noah listened quietly, then said, "Wanting love doesn't make you foolish." Eliza looked at him. "It made me blind." Noah shook his head. "It made you hopeful. Those are not the same thing." His words stayed with her. One evening, she noticed a photograph tucked inside a book on the shelf. It showed Noah beside a smiling woman. When he saw her looking at it, his face grew distant. "My wife," he said. "She died 6 years ago." Eliza lowered the photograph gently. "I'm sorry." Noah nodded. "After she was gone, I thought I would never let anyone close again. It seemed safer." Eliza understood that feeling. "And now?" she asked. Noah looked toward the sunset. "Now I'm not sure safety is the same as living." Their eyes met, and something passed between them that frightened them both. But the next morning, Daniel arrived in Silver Creek. He stood outside Mrs. Bell's boarding house with regret in his eyes and excuses on his lips. He said he had panicked. He said he had made a mistake. He said he wanted Eliza back. And when Noah saw Daniel speaking to her in the street, he turned away before Eliza could explain. Daniel spoke as though the past could be repaired with enough apologies. He told Eliza that he had been afraid of marriage, afraid of responsibility, afraid that he would fail her. He said leaving the note had been cowardly, but he had regretted it every day since. Eliza listened without interrupting, yet she felt strangely calm. Once his words would have been enough to make her forgive him. Once she would have believed that being chosen by him was the same as being loved. But Silver Creek had changed her. Noah's kindness had shown her that love did not arrive with grand promises. It arrived in small acts: a warm meal, a safe room, a hand offered without pressure, a person who stayed when life became difficult. "I forgive you," Eliza finally told Daniel, "but I cannot go with you." Daniel stared at her. "Is it because of the cowboy?" Eliza looked toward the North Road. "It is because I remembered who I am." Daniel left town that afternoon. Eliza felt sad but not broken. She went to Noah's ranch to tell him the truth, only to find the porch empty and the house silent. A ranch hand said Noah had ridden toward the high pasture. Eliza borrowed a horse and followed the trail into the hills. She found him near a ridge overlooking the valley, standing beside his horse with his back to her. "Noah," she called. He turned slowly. His face was guarded again. "You should be with him." Eliza stepped closer. "No." No looked away. "It came for you." Came because he was afraid to lose what he threw away. Noah's jaw tightened. "Maybe he realized he loves you." Eliza's voice softened. "And maybe I realized I deserve someone who does not leave me at a depot." Noah finally looked at her. The wind moved through the grass between them. "Eliza, I don't know how to be what you need." She walked closer until only a few steps separated them. "You already have been." Noah shook his head. "I'm not Daniel. I can't give you fancy words." Eliza smiled through tears. "I don't want fancy words." Noah's eyes filled with emotion. "Then what do you want?" Eliza looked at the ranch below, the house that had begun to feel like home, and the man who had helped her when he had nothing to gain. "I want honesty. I want kindness. I want someone who sees me when I am hurting and does not turn away." Noah stepped toward her. "I see you," he said. Eliza's breath caught. Noah removed his brown hat and held it in his hands. "I saw you walking away from that depot, trying to carry pain that was too heavy for one person. I wanted to help because I knew you deserved better. But somewhere along the way I started needing you too." Eliza's tears fell freely. Noah's voice shook as he said, "Stay with me." The words were simple, but they held everything he had been afraid to say. Eliza reached for his hand. "Yes," she whispered. "I will." Noah pulled her gently into his arms, and for the first time in years, he did not feel alone. For the first time since Daniel's note, Eliza did not feel abandoned. They stood together beneath the wide western sky as the sun lowered behind the mountains, turning the valley gold. Their future was not perfect. There would be hard work, storms, old memories, and days when fear returned. But they would face them together. And that was enough. Spring came slowly to Silver Creek, bringing green grass to the hills and wildflowers along the ranch fence. Eliza moved into Noah's house, not because he asked her to give up her independence, but because they both wanted to build something together. She turned the empty rooms into a home. She placed curtains in the windows, planted herbs near the porch, and filled the kitchen with the smell of bread. Noah built her a writing desk beside the window because she loved to write letters to her sisters. At night, they sat on the porch and talked about everything they had once been too afraid to say. Noah told her about his wife, and Eliza listened without jealousy. Eliza spoke about Daniel, and Noah never made her feel ashamed. They learned that love did not erase old pain. It made room for healing beside it. Months later, the town held a summer gathering near the depot. Eliza returned to the same platform where she had once stood alone with her suitcase. The station was brighter now, full of families, music, and laughter. Noah stood beside her in his brown hat and worn leather vest, his hand warm around hers. "Are you all right?" he asked. Eliza looked at the tracks disappearing into the distance. "I am," she said. "I used to think that place was where my life ended." Noah squeezed her hand. "And now?" Eliza smiled. "Now I think it was where my real life began." Noah took a small box from his pocket. Eliza's eyes widened as he opened it, revealing a simple ring. "I don't have a speech prepared," he said, and several nearby townspeople smiled because they knew Noah was a man of few words. "But I know I want every season ahead with you. Will you marry me?" Eliza laughed through tears.
"Yes."
The town cheered, and Noah kissed her beneath the warm sunset sky. They married that autumn on the ranch porch, surrounded by neighbors who had watched their story begin. Eliza wore a simple pale blue dress. Noah wore his best vest and the same brown hat he had worn the day he found her outside the depot. After the ceremony, they rode together toward the hills, while the mountains glowed in the distance. Eliza rested her head against Noah's shoulder and understood that sometimes a broken heart did not mean the end of love. Sometimes it was only the road that led a person toward the one who would finally say the words they needed most: "Stay with me." If this Wild West love story touched your heart, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more emotional cowboy romances, healing journeys, and unforgettable second chances.